What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and today we're talking about the Artisan Cutlery Arion. What we've got here is an Arion model, full size, that is an exclusive of White Mountain Knives. As always, I want to say thank you to Justin at White Mountain Knives. Love doing business with Justin. And as always, I say I don't have any business relationship with Justin or White Mountain Knives. I just love doing business with him and feel good about sending all my peeps over there. So we've got a White Mountain Knives exclusive of the Artisan Cutlery Arion model. This is bladed in AR-RPM9, which is an Artisan exclusive stainless steel we'll talk about later. This one's in OD green canvas micarta, and it very much is OD green canvas micarta. As soon as I saw it, the first thing I thought about was my dad's old duffel bag from when he came back from his service in Vietnam. It's the same doggone color as a good old worn-in duffel bag. Instant sort of special feeling on that one. The Arion exclusive is, let's talk about the price a little bit. I think we're pushing a little bit on price here for the type of blade steel we have compared to some other knives. This knife was $85.69. I used a 10% discount code, and it's $77.12. Now, many of you know I have had a very bad run with Artisan / CJRB knives. I've talked about it in other videos. We're not going to talk about it in this video. We're just going to talk about this knife. But I think this is a pretty decent knife. Now, at the end of the review, you're going to hear me say that this knife is going into the giveaway box. It is not going into my personal collection. And that is not because it's a bad knife in any way. The design is good. Fit and finish is good. There was a little bit of tweaking that needed to be done. We'll talk about. But it's super solid as it is. It is just the type of knife, which is sort of a wide, flat, thin profile, and I'm just not really into that. I'm more into longer, narrower, fuller handled type of knives. So it's just not my thing, so it's going to go into the giveaway box. We'll have it in a giveaway, or I'll give it away to somebody locally or something or another like that. Let's talk about dimensions here. Blade length is 3 5/8 inches. You got about 3 3/8 inches of cutting edge. It's about 9 centimeters blade length. The blade stock thickness, 127 thousandths of an inch, or 3.2 millimeters. The blade width, 1.3 inches, or 33 millimeters. Handle length, 4 3/4 of an inch, or 12 centimeters. Handle thickness, 420 thousandths of an inch. That's nearly 1/10 of an inch thinner than our standard of about 1/2 an inch thickness. That's 10.7 millimeters. Handle width at the widest point, 1.3 inches, or 33 millimeters. Closed width, pretty decent for this fairly wide profile at 1.37 inches, or 34 millimeters. So just barely wider than the actual blade width or the widest point on the handle. Overall length, 8 3/8 of an inch, or 21 centimeters. Your stop pin diameter, pretty beefy at 157 thousandths of an inch, or 4 millimeters. That is heavier than the blade stock thickness. On this fairly tall flat grind, we've got 19 thousandths behind the edge. It's pretty slicey and has a good edge on it. Handle to blade ratio, excellent at 76%, and the weight, 4.06 ounces, or 115 grams. This is a ball bearing pivot, slot blade opening type of knife. You can, roll it out with your thumb. You can flick it out with your thumb. You can spotty flick it, you can booger pick and flick it, you can do whatever you want, guys. It's a, you know, the blade folds into the handle and you open it up, and you can do that whatever way you want. I'm giving you permission to write me out to do that. Blade steel, AR-RPM9. I am not going to claim to be an expert on AR-RPM9. I have very little time behind that steel. I have not resharpened it, but I did do some research on the internet, and I guarantee everything that I read was absolutely true, and you can take that to the bank, guaranteed by somebody besides Baz on Blades, because I don't have any money in the bank. You got a high carbon content on this stainless steel, about 0.9, high chromium at 18%. I think typically you're going to sit in the 59 Rockwell range, and it is a powder metallurgy type steel. What that gives you is a very refined grain structure. And that really, it helps with edge retention, it helps with sharpening, it helps with impact resistance. It really, that finer grain structure helps across multiple performance parameters within the steel above just a normal ingot type of steel. So what they've done here in the AR-RPM9, from what I understand, is they want to sort of split the difference between D2 and 14C28, taking the edge wear resistance from one, that's edge retention, and the corrosion resistance from the other. And I think probably what they've ended up with is one of those steels that I like to call improved 440C. And that's what all of those mid-range steels are to me. They perform like improved versions of 440C, and that's pretty much how I expect this to perform and how I expect it to resharpen. I'm going to say decent edge retention, decent impact resistance, and good corrosion resistance from what I understand. Again, with the caveat that I don't know crap about this steel, and I made every damn bit of that up. We're going to go into the handle material here. Canvas micarta handle scales over pocketed stainless liners. The liners are black. You can see here what you've got as far as weight relieving, which is a minimal. Again, a liner lock, ball bearing pivot, ceramic bearings. I'm pretty sure single row. Black small parts here. A really, really good basic bent steel deep carry pocket clip is aesthetically pleasing. Very basic. It will fit a wide range of designs, I'm sure, and that is a cost-effective benefit of using a clip like that. The only thing I don't like is I think that the tip is just a little bit, it's still angled up, and it gives it a high feeling right here. I wish it was absolutely flat, falling in the plane with the spine of the clip. But other than that, I mean, it's really, really good in the hand. I have not found it, and I've carried and used this knife, guys. Okay, I have carried and used it. I can feel the clip, I can feel that tip, but I've never had any issues with hot spotting. And I think that is mostly because this handle with the wide, flatter, thinner profile, when I cut my hand around it under any normal use pressure, I think that I've got a little bit of gap right here that basically comes right over the curl of my hand. Because of these flat scales, I'm curling around them instead of resting real hard on the scale right where that pocket clip is, and that helps me a little bit. But and then again, talking about this profile, this flat, wide profile, I've got little short, stubby fingers, and that's why I don't really like these profiles too much. I will say this: for 3 5/8 inches of blade length, 9 centimeters of blade length, guys. And 4 ounces of weight with that deep carry pocket clip and the flat, design. It carries like nothing in your pocket. It carries very, very well. The canvas micarta is absolutely wonderful, guys. Let's get a close-up look. You can see the way it has lifted a little bit. The fiber has lifted the way they machined it. You very much, there's not a hard epoxy surface. You very much have a canvas surface, almost like this was lightly bead blasted just a little bit. I don't know that it was. That is one way you can knock that sort of epoxy feel down on micarta sometimes. I don't know if this was, or if it was scuffed with an abrasive, or they did it that way and that's the way it turned out. I've never made micarta, but you can hear it there, guys. It feels wonderful. It feels wonderful. I can wholly approve with this handle material, this canvas micarta. Let's see, material wise, there's not much left to talk about here, guys. It's pretty basic. It is pretty basic. And again, we're going to dip into that price point at $85.69. Again, $77 after discount. There's brands like Concept Knives right here that are giving you micarta bearings and all of that with 154 cm for the blade steel. I think that the blade steel performance, it would actually be pretty close between these two, as the regular 154 cm is basically, again, an improved 440C. It's in that sort of, even though it used to be a high-end steel, it's more of a mid-range steel anymore. I think the performance would be very close in many respects, but you will always have more cachet value with 154 cm than you will with AR-RPM9. That's just the way it's going to be. There will be that perceived worth in the other steel. And you're just not going to get away from that. That's just the way the knife crowd is. We are very much stuck on things that are already proven and perceived as even moderately premium. So I think price point wise, we're probably about $10 too high. I would have liked to have seen this $10 lower. Maybe $15 lower. At $15 lower, this will be a smoking deal if you like that wider, flatter profile feel. Okay, if that's your jam, then that would be really, really good at, $10 or $15 lower. As it is, I can't take anything away from the design. I think it's been very successful for Artisan. This Arion, I know they've done titanium frame locks, I believe. They've done multiple different steels and multiple different handle materials in the liner locks. I think it has been a good seller for them, and I see why. It is a good knife. So let's go up here and look at this blade and talk about the utilitarian aspects of this pointy blade with a slicey edge and continuous belly from tip to termination. Well, I just described the perfect damn blade, didn't I? I mean, I did, guys. It's not super thin out at the tip. The distill taper, what distill taper there is very close out towards the tip. I'm going to give it about an inch where I can really feel it. About an inch maybe. So you've got quite a bit of weight out there at the tip and quite a bit of strength for what is really a very acute, pointy, and piercy tip. Partly because of the profile and partly because of the secondary grind, the edge grind, is done so well on this thing. And it came very sharp, and it is still, after a couple of weeks of moderate use, Admittingly, not on some real heavy duty materials or anything, and not really any dirty material, but it still instantly catches. It still instantly catches, and I think I've stropped it once on a piece of dry cardboard. Very, very good job there, and pretty much in line with what I would expect performance-wise from what I've read about this steel. So, you know, it's falling in there. It's falling in there with what the internet is saying. We've got some good jimping up here. The jimping is in a good place. There is a good length of it. I think it is just the hair, just the finest little bit, a little soft. Now that might be because of the coating on it. But you can see the jimping here. It's nice and deep. It's evenly spaced. It is crisply machined. It feels very effective. We're going to put a little pressure on it, and then you can look at the pad of my thumb here. You can see there's plenty of meat getting down in that jimping. I just wish that the very top edges of the jimping wasn't just, I mean, it's just that finite bit too soft. Other than that, I really like it. Now, I'm not generally a blade hole type of person, but this slotted sort of hole, it works with the overall design, and it works very well for opening. Like I say, you've got distance here to change your sort of leverage point for the way you want to open it. It is very, very easy to spidey flick. This is one of the better knives that I've ever gotten for that, actually. So good that even I mean, listen to that, guys. I suck it. Oh, I suck at spidey flicking. But I can put some force behind that when I can successfully do it. It's sort of a weird review, guys. It's sort of a weird review. I feel weird doing it. Let's see here. Handle ergonomics. Look at it. It's straight. It's wide open forward finger choil here. Just the slightest bit of, just very gradual ramping up to the spine of the blade. It's if it was just the slightest bit thicker, it would feel like a real tool to me. And it feels solid, don't get me wrong. It's just too thin for the width of it for my hands. It's just not right for my hands. I think if you had maybe if you had longer fingers than I do, it would be more comfortable. This would make a great knife for like a bug out bag or like a little emergency kit. I've got my little Maxpedition, what they call a pocket pouch or whatever, that I've got my kit in. A flat, lightweight, full-size knife like this is great for a kit like that. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's not super heavy. So in that respect, it would be very good. Sort of a hidden lanyard attachment point here. I always appreciate that. You can see, though, it is not going into, it's not going into steel. It is going into micarta. So if you are ever out and you fall off a cliff, let's say you fall off of a cliff, and you somehow on the way down, you manage to take this knife out, successfully spidey flick it as you're falling, and then stab it into a cliff, and you jam it in there, and it arrests your fall. But even though this micarta is fantastic, you're panicking and your hands are sweaty, and you start slipping off of there, so you're going to hang on the lanyard. At that point, I'm not sure if the lanyard mount being in the micarta is going to be strong enough to save your life. So, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, hanging off a cliff by your lanyard, guys. Because, as far as the internet goes, that shit happens all the time. Just ask anybody. They know somebody that's done that. They heard about it on the internet. Again, I love that clip. I wish the tip was just, a millimeter lower to flatten it out. Love the blade profile. The grind works very well. Pointy, but moderately strong sort of tip build there. Good jimping. Fantastic material on the handle. A great wide open handle design that works for, good grief, guys. You could do all kinds of stuff. You get up here, because it's so thin, it aids to like a pinch grip. And in a pinch grip, look, my fingers are going to fall into this choil. You can see where this finger, okay, it's my alignment finger, basically, my pointing finger. It aligns to this point of the blade where I'm going to be doing some fine cutting. Of course, it's going to be up here above the cutting edge, but I'm just showing you where it falls. And then my thumb falls right here. I could do some very fine and controlled work in this first inch of the blade right here. That is, one of the good points for having such a flat handle, flat and thin handle. So, action is good. Fit and finish is good. Materials are decent to good. I think the price is $10 or $15 too high for the blade still compared to some of the competition. Now, after all that positivity, let's talk about the negative. I have to say a little bit about this. I've had a lot of trouble out of Artisan CJRB folders. In fact, every one I've had has been bad. I mean, not right. Some unusable. Okay. This knife came to me with bad centering. And when I say bad centering, it was bad enough to make a point of it. And the centering was off to the lock side. Now, the first thing I think when the centering of a folded knife is close to the lock side is something is not straight. Usually in a liner lock or a frame lock, the lock puts pressure on the blade and it will push it to the back side, or the front side, I'm sorry, not the lock side. If it is going in the opposite direction, there is something else wrong. So I had to take this knife apart and I checked it for burrs around the pivot, which will radically affect the pivot, for some other things. And then I put the liners on a flat surface, and the liners were both bent. They were not straight. So I straightened the liners, and I got it back to, you can see right here, it's still not perfect. It's still not perfect. It's just a hair off at the tip, but you can see down the sides here we're pretty even, and this is a very tight design, meaning there's not a lot of gapness in here for a blade to be off center. So it's not bad. It's not rubbing or anything like that. You can look, you can look at the blade finish here and tell it's not rubbing or anything. It just needed a little tweaking. The lockup is solid. I got no issues with the lockup. Oh yeah, it's super duper solid. And just that centering, guys. And I could tweak the liners a little more. But at that point, I had already decided I wasn't going to keep this knife. I was going to use it in a giveaway. And once I saw that I was going to be able to bring the centering back in, the lockup was still going to be solid, action was going to be really good. I just, after I bent and reassembled and checked and disassembled and bent, and because you do it gradually. If you bend too far, you bent too far. Then you've got to go back, and you can only bend this metal so much before it starts to fatigue and causes other issues. And when you're talking about, when I'm talking about the liners weren't flat, you would have had to put them on a flat surface to tell. We're talking just a couple of thousandths out of flatness across the length of that blade from the pivot. Just a thousandth or a couple of thousandths can cause that point to be way off center. So we got that going. It really does feel solid. I mean, right now, other than thinking, you know, the blade still could be a little better for the money, it's a solid knife. It's a solid knife. It feels good. It looks good. It performs well. Yeah, you know, like I say in my recent artisan video, I won't be buying any more of their product. I just don't have any interest in any more of their product. But this is a really solid knife and it's a good design if you want that type of design, the wider, flatter design. This is a good option. You're going to have to judge on the price yourself, as I say, and from my experience, you're going to have to take a chance on having to send one back because it's bad. But I can recommend the design wholeheartedly for those that like that type of design. As far as the company goes, I can't recommend the company. So it's a mixed bag, guys. I wish I could give you a more straight answer. But after that discombobulated sort of review that I just did, holy smokes, I was all over the place with that. I was just reluctant to review any more of this company's products, guys. And I think that, you know, it just sort of threw me off a little bit. So there you go. Sorry, that's what you get from Baz on Blades. Super duper honesty. And I don't think Artisan CJRB will ever be contacting me to send me any free product, and that's fantastic because I don't want to have to send it back. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch my super duper long videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.